Hello and welcome to Mind on the Match. This is another predictions episode, and this time it's the championship we're doing. I've got Marcus on, who you'll see him if you watch the rewind videos, and he's a Blackburn fan. We've mentioned it a few times, don't we, Marcus?
We do indeed. We do indeed.
So we've got Marcus on for his perspective on the championship. I'm worried, obviously being a Burnley fan, where he's going to put Blackburn. I'm not sure, but yeah, we're going to get right into it anyway. Obviously, on the others, I've had two people, so it won't be as long as them. But yeah, we got Marcus on because it was a bit last minute, this championship. I weren't sure if I'd be able to fit it all in. But we're going to do it now. So we'll go from bottom to top, like we have with the others, Marcus.
Indeed.
Who have you got bottom of the league?
Again, this one, I don't think there were too many eyebrows raised with this one. It's a toss-up at the bottom of the league. I mean, it's a toss-up no matter what in the championship, let's be honest. But for me, a team that, again, they brought in two people this summer. I don't think there's really any murmurs, and they only just stayed up last season. I've gone with Barnsley to finish bottom this season.
Okay.
Yeah, like I say, I just don't necessarily think they're going to have the capabilities, and in a league that this year specifically is going to have 46 games in the space of 7 months, 8 months or something.
It's going to be hard, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't really have the depth. And I mean, they've got rid of probably about 6 players and they've only brought 2 in. And again, last season, their defence wasn't the best, and attack, obviously, but I do feel that they won't have the firepower needed to keep them up, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did well, didn't they, Barnsley, in the end, to stay up?
In the end, yeah. I mean, they capitalised on Brentford's mishap.
Yeah.
I mean, Brentford last season had it in the bag, and all of a sudden the bag split and they came third somehow.
Yeah, I swear as well, they were like 2 minutes away from relegation against Forest or something with a few games left.
Yeah.
I think it was Nottingham Forest. He scored like 90 odd minutes, and
them. I think the last 3 games. I don't know if they won them all or got 2 wins and a draw. But really fair dues to the spirit of that team through that season, because, like I say, many teams would have just put down tools and accepted defeat. But especially, like I say, in that Brentford game, because that were a 90-odd, 93rd, 94th minute goal to keep them up with that. But like I say, this season, I just can't see it.
It'd be tough.
Like I say, it's mainly the depth for me. We're a season that has got so much capacity in it in terms of gains in such a short amount of time. I just don't think they'll have it in them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Man, I think as well, though, with that new manager they've got, do you know their manager now? Because I forgot his name.
Yeah, I'm again not too sure on the name, but he's an Austrian.
I think they'd have been 12 or something since they come in.
Like I say, there were plenty of teams last season like that. I mean, Luton, when they brought Nathan Jones back in, they were sensational. Like I say, hopefully, obviously, he does prove me wrong, and they manage to do what they do. But I just don't think that they've got the firepower.
So, what about just above them, 23rd? Who have you gone with?
I mean, this one, I don't think will be a big surprise. They're the biggest yo-yo team known to man. Another Yorkshire team, another team that plays in red, Rotherham United.
Yeah.
They honestly, it must be a love and hate thing with their fans, because one season they're absolutely bossing the league, the next season they're absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
Again, they just need that little bit of stability when they're in the championship. And again, they brought in a few decent signings. Again, Angus MacDonald for me from Hull could be a good signing, centre back. Goalkeeper that I think Rovers will link with a few times from Leicester on loan. But the main thing is the strikers. And I just don't think that they'll have the fact that against the defensive championship league, where it's a lot more powerful than a League One type of defence.
It's a big step in it.
It is. Like I say, plenty of teams have tried and failed. And like I say, Rotherham have been one of them way too many times. And I think it's going to happen against them.
They don't get much luck, do they, Rotherham, in Championship?
No, not at all. I don't know if they've ever stayed in there for more than 2 seasons. If they has, it mustn't be long.
Yeah, I think they've only done 2, haven't they? They stayed up with Neil Warnock, didn't they?
Of course.
So I think but I think they got relegated the season after. I don't think they were up there long. Yeah, they must think, Rotherham, would we rather be winning every week?
That's it. That's it. I mean, like I say, it's a roller coaster. There's no season where you're just petering out and it is what it is. So it must be a bit of a ride for the fans. But I think more than anything, they'd want a little bit of stability and, if anything, just cement the place in the Championship after all. But
yeah. You still want to be as high as you can.
That's it. Yeah.
They must. It's a big change in it from winning every week.
Yeah.
So what about the final relegation spot?
Final relegation spot. This is where I do feel eyebrows will be raised. Again, it's a team that have let a lot of people go. It was an aging squad, but a lot of these are aging players that have been let go. And they've only brought in a couple of players. Reading.
Ooh.
I've gone for Reading. They've brought in Ovie Ejaria from Liverpool, who were there on loan last season. And he was a good player. But last season, the team were riddled with Charlie Adam were in there.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise Gareth McCleary was still at the club. I don't know how he was still picking up a wage.
He's been there a while, hasn't he?
Yeah. Tyler Blackett's left on a free transfer. He were a good player. Forest have just signed him up. Danny Lauder, young star, he was supposed to be going for a bit of money. I think it was in January to Wolves or Leicester, one of the two. And he's been let go on a free to Porto. I'm assuming there might be a little bit of compensation for that, but I'm not too sure on that one because it's an abroad. You think, but because it's an abroad team, usually it's more the FA that sort the tribunal fees. But because it's a team that's abroad, I'm not too sure if there's a compensation package required. But again, another team that they haven't necessarily invested in what they've lost. And again, it's depth for me. I mean, there's plenty of teams that don't necessarily have the depth, but again, I just don't feel that Reading will have it. Again, maybe a shock one, hopefully proven wrong, but for me, Reading.
Yeah, I can see that myself. They've been down there, haven't they, a little bit these last few years. But sometimes it actually does good to go down to League One. I remember a few teams it passed Wolves, Southampton. Some big clubs have been down, haven't they? And,
Blackburn.
You went down, yeah. You're still trying to get. It's taking a bit longer, isn't it?
It is.
Well, yeah.
It is.
So who's escaping by the skin of the teeth then? 20.
Escaping by the skin of the teeth, indeed. Huddersfield.
Ooh, that's
another one that could be an eyebrow raiser. Again, last season just come down from the Premier League, I think it were, if not the season before. And they really didn't set the world on fire.
You're poor,
I'd have expected a lot more from a Huddersfield team, and you know they did lose a few players last time around, and you know you can almost agree with it. But again, that team it just seems mismanaged to me. There were too many players that wouldn't show up. Too many players probably on way too much money. I mean, Steve Mooney, he were here and there, nowhere. Like I say, he was supposed to be one of the big breakouts for a team in the Championship. You'd have thought he'd have bagged at least 10, 15, 20 goals. But I don't think he even bagged 10, I don't know. And he's just been sold to a French team for $4.5 million, to be fair. You know, they've got a bit of money back from him. But again, they've not invested it at all. They've got a couple of loaning in Joel Pereira from United.
Yeah.
Danny Ward's made a return from Cardiff, and then they've brought in a Spanish right back. And again, for a team that were lingering towards relegation at certain points in that season, you'd have expected a bit more in regards to strengthening and enhancing what they had, but it just doesn't look like they have. Again, with, like we said prior, the October window this time around, you know, you've got a solid 5 weeks into the season until that transfer window ends. So it will be interesting to see how teams are going to develop with that, because a lot of teams will be a lot of a different look compared to where they start the season this Saturday compared to where they are come mid-October. So it will be interesting to see. But again, Huddersfield should have the parachute payments. I don't know if that's covering the losses from the COVID situation, but again, you'd expect a little bit of finances being pumped in. I don't know if that's, again, down to the ownership, not necessarily pumping that in. But for me, actually, I'd have expected a lot more from them. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, that was a strange sacking, weren't it, Danny Cowley?
Yeah. Again, obviously, he got brought in right beginning of last season, midway through season.
Yeah, midway.
Again, it wasn't that he was dreadful. You know, he took on a sinking ship almost, and he'd almost steadied it. But then, like I say, towards the end of the season, petered off again. And like I say, the team just another one that was not necessarily an aging team, but you think they'd have the experience in the to do what they needed to do. At least, you know, mid-table, pushing towards. But I shouldn't see it at all. I think they need to get back to the core with that team, and you know, as Brexit as it might sound, bring back the English core to the team, because in that team there were way too many, you know, different nationalities that personalities could clash, or you know, the ways in which that the training's done could clash. And it does seem like they've done that in some aspect, but I think that's probably what needs to be done there, and bring it back to the basics.
Yeah, it's different style as well, isn't it? Championship. So
Oh,
if you haven't played
completely.
it before,
Yeah,
takes some getting used to usually,
oh,
doesn't it? So,
they're definitely. It's
Yeah.
one of its own is the championship.
Yeah. So 20th, who've we got in?
Again, I think a lot of people have had these in them relegation zones, but Akinfenwa's team, Wycombe Wanderers, I think they're gonna survive me. Gareth Ainsworth, I'm a big fan of what he's done.
Done well, hasn't he? Done really
He's superb, absolutely superb what he's done at that club. I think 3 years ago, they were in League Two. And the fast forward till now, they're up there in the Championship. And like I say, it's the squad itself. Again, you know, I've been talking about depth, but with that one, the team spirit is unbelievable. I mean, we saw it obviously in the playoff final after the game itself, but I just do think that more than anything, that team spirit will pull them through. Like I say, Gareth Ainsworth is Blackburn fan, brought up in Blackburn, so there might be a little bit of bias in that again, but I am a real big fan of what he's done there. It'll be sad that there's no crowd there at Ewood Park. We've got them second game of the season at home, and it would have been a great reception for him, because like I say, obviously he's a Blackburn lad. And like I say, what he's done with that club is just sensational. But I do think that they will surprise a lot of people, not to the point where that, you know, they're nicking results left, right, and centre. But I think they're probably one of the bookies' favourites to go down. And like I say, I do think they'll survive the drop.
Yeah, he's done it. He has done a good job. I did like him, and I didn't know he was a Blackburn lad, so I've changed my opinion. No, I'm joking. He's done a great job, and Wycombe fans, I think they'd bite your hand off for 20th, wouldn't they?
But like I said, another season in Championship. I think, like you said, before start a play, that's definitely something they'd take.
Oh, they'd be buzzing with that, yeah. So 19th, just above Wycombe. Who've you gone with?
19th, the last promoted team that I've not mentioned. A big fan of what they've done. You know, they've had their ups and downs of Coventry.
They have, with the stadium and orders.
Yeah. Obviously, they're playing at St Andrews again this season. Which will be fun to see, Birmingham and Coventry, when they play each other in league.
Yeah.
But again, big fan of the team itself, to be honest. They've got a really good team coming together. I mean, one player that I'm a big fan of is Callum O'Hare. Central Jack in mid, he's on loan for Villa. They've just signed him on a free transfer. Again, I think he's 22, 23. A cracking little player. And for them to be able to pick him up on a free after the season he had last year, I think, again, that's a great bit of business. Signed that Ben Sheaf from Arsenal on loan with a view to buy in the summer, I believe. Again, cracking little player in the midfield. I think they are, again, pulling together a team that can be reckoned with, not necessarily for the whole Championship, but realistically, all they want to be doing is surviving again, because Coventry, they're a well-known Championship team for 8 years, I think it were. Obviously, they used to be a Premier League team, so they have really fallen through. And it was a bit sad to see, like I say, the way in which it went with the Rico Arena and the finances, and again the management of the club. You know, it's said time and time again, and there's plenty of clubs in the Championship here that have had the same mismanagement. But I'm glad to see that they're again back in the Championship, and I do believe that they'll have what it takes to fight above and not make the relegation spot.
Yeah, they've done really well, Coventry, with off-field issues, haven't they, to get promotion like that. So, fair play to them. I agree. It's good to see them back in the Championship, Coventry. Yeah.
I mean, again, it could be a bit fortunate given the way that the League One season ended that they're up. I do think that they'd have probably gone up anyway. Obviously, all three teams, Rotherham, Coventry and Wycombe probably more so with the way that they got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Very fortunate in which to do so, but like I say, they've been given the opportunity, and I don't see any reason why two of them will take that and stay in the league.
Yep. Right, so 18th.
18th, Luton, I've gone for.
Luton. Okay.
Again, I think they won 3-1 against Norwich in the Carabao Cup first round. James Collins scored a hat-trick. And to be honest, the main thing that I'd probably say that we're missing there last year were the defence. And to concede one goal against a Norwich team that's probably star-studded with power, I think that says more things than anything. I do think that they've probably had that, again, learning period, like you've said. It does take a bit of time to get yourselves in the format of a championship season. Signed James Bree back from Villa on a full. Nice little right back. It's a hungry squad, I think, is Luton. And again, keeper, a bit of a dodgy keeper, Sluga.
Yeah, made a few errors, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he came in and I think it was a record transfer for something like 1.5 million after they played Rijeka in a pre-season friendly and they impressed him. I think they'd be wishing that they could go back in time and not do it because, I mean, he were opening game at season last season and he let an absolute clanger through his fists.
Yeah, I think he improved a bit, didn't he, as the season went on?
Yeah, he was a bit of an inconsistent one. He was similar to what...
a few balls ups, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was similar to what David Raya was for us. Not last season, obviously, the season before. Like you say, he'd make some unbelievable stops and then something that would be a simple, stop that you'd expect someone to make. Somehow it'd end up back at net.
Yeah.
But like I say, they've made a few defensive signings. And like I said, that for me were the biggest issue last year. So I do think that they'll knock on and be able to finish in the 18th spot this year round.
Yeah, that James Collins, he scores some goals, doesn't he?
He does.
He's one of them players who always lets my bet down. Whatever team I've bet on, he scores against them.
Yeah, we've all got them type. We've all got them.
We've all got them players, haven't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Luton could surprise this season. I don't know.
You think?
I've got a feeling they might. Yeah, I've got a feeling Luton will have a good season. I think. Yeah. So 17th, who do you?
17th, I've gone for QPR. I think they're going to miss the creativity of Eberechi Eze.
Big loss, that, innit?
A huge loss. And
Big
again,
loss, yeah.
16 million, I think it were. And again, obviously, it's a bit premature in which to be, suggesting where people can finish, like I said, with the transfer window. But they brought in Lyndon Dykes from Livingston, who's, not to say up and coming, but he's a striker that's been sought after. They brought in a midfielder from Leicester, George Thomas. And then a couple of players that they had on loan last season, Luke Amos. Tom Carroll. I'm surprised that there weren't more interest in Tom Carroll. He was being released by Swansea.
Yeah.
And like I say, I think he was there on loan when they were in the Premier League. So he obviously left a mark on the club itself. And like I say, for a freebie, I don't blame him. I think I'd have had him at Rovers any day a week.
Yeah, can't lose, can you really?
No,
Can't lose
not
in
at
that
all.
situation.
But like I said, they've lost a few big players in Eberechi Eze, and like I said in the previous video, Grant Hall. I think that Grant Hall will be a bit of a miss for him. I think they'll need to strengthen up that centre back position. I mean, they've signed Robbie Dickey, I think he's called, from Oxford. But again, in League One, not necessarily cut it in the Championship yet. So if they want to be reaching the upper echelons of the league, I think that it needs someone with a bit more experience there. And again, I think they're just going to be one of them teams that lingers in the mid-table for the majority of the year, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it could even be worse than that, mate. I fear a bit for QPR. Yeah, I think big loss in it, and obviously they didn't end up. I know this was like halfway through the season, but obviously we had Wells, didn't they? And he went to Bristol City instead. So don't know. I do fear a little bit for QPR, but we'll see.
Yeah, Mark Warburton for me though, he's a very hit and miss manager.
He did brilliant at Brentford, didn't he?
Oh, unbelievable. But any team he's gone to.
Rangers is a tough job and it's a big club. So
Yeah.
He struggled a little bit there, but yeah, be interesting to see how they get on though.
No, definitely.
So in 16th, who have you gone with?
16th, I think this one could surprise a few because they were within seconds of the playoffs last year. And they only went and I think it were an 6-goal swing. Nottingham Forest.
I'm shocked. That's the most I'm shocked with so far.
Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, 16th.
Really?
I thought you'd have had a higher.
No. Again, I think the way in which they just absolutely catapulted down last season, they looked an absolute shearing for a championship playoff spot. And out of nowhere, they're just dreadful form. I do think it'll carry on this year. I mean, they've lost Matty Cash, who was a huge player for them.
Yeah,
Again, he's gone to Villa. And some big money going to Championship teams this year.
there is. Yeah, there's a lot.
I think though the majority of it's just going to be spent on COVID losses. So
Yeah.
despite a lot of these big fees going in, where in previous seasons you'd have seen then, a Matty Cash go for 14 million and then 4 or 5 players come in to spread the depth around. This season, I don't think that it's going to happen as much. And like I say, they've brought in 4 or 5 freebies. Lyle Taylor from Charlton, he's come in. Not a fan of what he did last season with the way that he let Charlton down.
That were unfair, that weren't it?
Yeah, again, I lost all respect for any respect I have for him anyway. Jack Colback, he's come in again. He used to have him on loan from Newcastle. Tyler Blackett, as I mentioned. So, one player that I would be excited to see is the Luke Freeman. He went from QPR to Sheffield United and really get any sort of a look in that Premier League side.
Really get a chance.
So with him going to Forest, he might be able to re-spark his career and creativity with that. But again, I think that the poor form will carry on at the beginning of the season for them. And it wouldn't surprise me if Lamucci were to lose his job. Because I know that their owner's quite reckless.
Yeah, I'm shocked they've kept him on.
Yeah.
I thought he was gone after that. Stoke, were it Stoke?
Yes, yeah. Stoke, I think, were 4-0, 5-1 or something like that.
Something stupid, weren't it? Yeah, but I thought he'd be sacked him, but he's kept the job. Yeah, it's going to make or break Forest, and they might come back stronger, thinking, we don't want to feel like that again, or it could,
definitely,
like you said, it could end up with bottom half of the table.
That's it.
So what about 15th?
15th, and then this is going to be a big one because they start the season on -12.
Right.
I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
Without that, I think that they would be pushing, not necessarily playoffs, but they'd be in and around. I know that a lot of predictions have put them bottom of the league because of what situation they're in. But I'm a fan of the squad that they've got, even though Rovers went there and beat them 5-1 last season. I am a fan of what they've got, and they've brought in a midfielder from Man City called Deli Bashiru. I think if they put faith in him, he could be a big player for them this season. They've done a little bit of a raid on Wigan in Che Dunkley and Josh Windass. Again, big fan of Che Dunkley. I'd have had him at Rovers. And they brought in Kachunga from Huddersfield. So they have strengthened what they didn't have. I mean, last year they had 6 strikers that just didn't do anything. And I think 4 of them have left now. No, Fletcher's left, Forestieri's gone. Sam Winnall's gone. Who else is there? There's another one. Oh, Nuiu. He's gone as well. I think they've got Rhodes. Obviously, I have a soft spot for being a Rovers fan. And Kachunga. So they've hopefully got a goal-scoring striker there that they've been crying out for a long time. If they can get Jacob Murphy back, which looks more and more possible as the days go on, I do think that they'll be able to be a force this season despite the 12-point deduction.
Yeah. I'm same as you. I've seen a lot of them in the bottom 3. So
yeah.
I love Hillsborough as well. Have you ever been to Sheff Wednesday?
I haven't, but
it's nice. It's just like a bit old school and
classic football ground.
But it's a good stadium. Yeah. Like one of my favourites, that Sheff Wednesday.
14th, I've gone for Birmingham. New manager in Aitor Karanka. They had a shocking end to last season again. I think with 14 games yet to win or something stupid. But again, they've got rid of a bit of the deadwood that were in the squad. They've had a clear out. Obviously, they've been able to sell, as bad as it might be, Jude Bellingham for 23 million to Dortmund, so they'll have a bit in the kitty. So I think if they were to be able to spend that money wisely, because as much as I've said, obviously, that people will be keeping money behind, I think 23 million is a bit excessive. So if they were to go and obviously spend a bit of that money, it'd be good. I'm a fan of Jonathan Lee Cole, however you say his name, that they've signed from West Brom. I think still a young lad, 21. And I've heard his name around now for about 4 or 5 years, so it surprises me that he's still only 21-year-old. But they've signed him for about £1 million. He's a good player. And then they've gone and signed a classic Championship player in George Friend, your bread and butter left back of the league.
Does a job, doesn't he?
He does.
Job, George Friend,
as much as people might criticise him for not being, the best left back out there, at the end of the day, again, Blackburn, I'd love to have a player like that you'd know you're going to put a shift in.
Strange, isn't it, George Fred? Because he's pretty tall for
I think he's 6'1", 6'2".
When I used to watch, I used to think, Jesus, he's like Brighton, aren't they? They've got Dan
Burn. Yeah, Dan Burn.
Yeah, playing at full-back. It's strange that when you see him, but he's a solid player, George.
Yeah, no, he is.
I've always thought he was decent.
Yeah,
it's good signing that for him.
They brought in Adam Clayton as well he was on loan at Leeds. I don't know if it was last season or the season before. But I think that's a very, very good bit of business on a free. I think, again, another player that is a classic Championship player that you need to get you through a season. Which, obviously, he's not the same type of player as Jude Bellingham, but, they do need that backup in midfield. They brought in John Terrell, who they did have on loan a while back, and he did a good job for them. He was at Hull and he's returned now. So I do think that they've strengthened the way in which they need to. And like I say, I don't think they'll be pushing the upper sides of the league, but I don't think they've got any worries this season at all.
Yep. So last place in the bottom half, 13th. Who have you got?
Last place. I went for Bristol City.
Ooh.
Again, Lee Johnson, obviously, he's gone. And I'm baffled as to why they've brought in the assistant manager, Dean Oldham.
Bournemouth.
Yeah, that again, another one. It's again, I know that there were a lot of Bristol City fans that weren't happy with that appointment. I was following it when the announcements were coming on Twitter, and it just makes no sense to me. You've got players that are in and around Lee Johnson and Dean Oldham for the full season. Obviously, the board aren't happy with the way in which Lee Johnson is leading the team, so they've got rid of him. But then they've gone and brought in his number 2. Which to me just makes no sense whatsoever.
I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of that when they give it assistant manager, because it's like, well, why do you sack the other manager then?
That's it. Like I say, it'll take a while for the players probably to understand that they're the manager, and you've got to buy into him not being an assistant manager. Because again, I don't know if I said it in a previous video, they're probably like a linchpin in between which of the players and the manager get along. Because obviously there's a certain level of authority that a manager has to have.
Yeah.
And then certain coaches can, be a bit more lenient with it. So for him to go to being a manager now, it's again, I think it'll be a lot for them to do.
That relationship will change, won't it, between the players?
Definitely.
So
definitely.
It depends how well they both can deal with that. The players and him.
I mean, they've taken themselves in the transfer window quite well. Alfie Mawson, I'm very surprised that he's been able to leave Fulham on loan.
Burnley wanted him once.
Yeah, that's it.
He went to Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone up there on loan. Again, a player that I'd have killed for at Rovers.
Yeah.
Stephen Session as well from Fulham on loan. Joe Williams from Wigan. 2 dodgy signings, I think, in Chris Brunt and Chris Martin. Again, Championship savvy players.
Yeah, they've got experience, won't they? Good time in the dressing room.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just don't think that they'll carry on the way in which it might have done last year. And I do think that, again, mid-table.
So then, on to top half now.
I'm
worried. Blackburn haven't been mentioned yet.
They haven't been mentioned yet, you're right. And they're not going to be mentioned either, 12th, we've gone for both of our local derby team, Preston North End.
Okay.
Again, I was impressed with Preston last season, as much as it pains me to say.
Yeah,
I mean, they were top of the league at the beginning of the season at some points, for quite a while, to be honest. But again, no signings yet. There was obviously not the piece there that was needed last season, and they're still yet to make any signings, which worries me. Obviously, I could say similar about Blackburn, but with Preston, I think they're missing that, again, goal-scoring player. Sean Maguire, he's all pace for me. Again, they've got a lot of pace in that squad. They had David Nugent there. I mean, how old is he now? 70.
Yeah, he's got his free bus pass.
I know. I just thought they're crying out for a goal-scoring player. And probably 2 of them, because, like I say, I mean, Scott Sinclair, there were much made of him when he signed, and he's not really been that clever. I am a fan of Daniel Johnson, though.
I like him.
He is a goal-scoring midfielder, creative midfielder.
Yeah.
But I do think, again, they're missing that little extra to go on and make that playoff run that they've been crying out for. If they can go out and sign, like I say, 2 or 3 players that will bag them 10, 15 in a season, I don't see any reason why they can't then be pushed up towards that playoff spots.
Yeah, they sort of dropped off, didn't they, last season? There were times when they were looking like you said, they could get automatics even.
That's it. Like I say, first half of the season, they were sensational, and they were in playoffs probably for a good 3 quarters of season almost. And then again, it just died down towards end. Just didn't have the bottle for it.
Yeah, so 11th place.
11th and Blackburn still aren't going to be making an appearance.
Oh, God.
Cardiff City.
Right.
Obviously, playoffs last year. Again, a very good squad. But for me, it doesn't have an amazing amount of quality. Again, another team that gets through on team spirit more so than anything. Yeah. The wingers always confuse me with them. They just don't seem to be out and out wingers and playing which you'd want a winger to play. I mean, Callum Patterson, he can play at probably any part of the pitch. A player that you want, yeah,
turning from defender to striker.
That's it. The thing is, though, he's carried on with that. So again, it's a player that you probably want, to have in your arsenal that can play anywhere that you want him to play. But it just seems, again, a team that's missing that one vital player that will go on and be that level of player that will pick the team up when it's needed. Again, they've signed Sheyi Ojo from Liverpool, but again, he went at Rangers and he just didn't seem interested up there. So I'm not too sure if, a move into the Championship will buck his ideas up with a more competitive league. So he knows he's in, professional football challenges all week, whereas, Rangers versus a team like Hamilton Academical, as much as there might be an Appleton win every now and then, you expect it to be a one-way onslaught. So hopefully that can buck his ideas up as well. Kiefer Moore, good striker from Wigan. Again, a lot of teams here have been raiding Wigan, unfortunately, given their situation. But Kiefer Moore, he could be that player to bag them the goals that they need. But again, we'll go on and we'll see.
Yeah, they've had a bit of... I don't know if you've seen, been at work, haven't you? But have you seen about Mendes Lang?
I've seen it. What is it that's happened there?
Nobody knows. Everyone's on Twitter. He's done everything. Everybody's just speculating. But they've sacked him, so he must have done something. Well, it sounds like they've sacked him. So
yeah, I'm looking here now because I've got a few of the transfers up, and it does say that he's without a club, and I didn't think that he would come to the end of his contract.
Yeah, they just put out his contract's ended. We're not seeing any more. So he's done something, hasn't he? He's done something wrong. But what that is, who knows? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But so that could even affect preparation, couldn't it, for him?
No, definitely.
So in 10th, have you gone?
In 10th, still no appearance for the local boys.
We're in single figures, aren't we?
I've gone for a team that were in the lowly ends of last season. And they could make a push for playoffs. Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough.
Okay.
Again, as you know yourself, he's Neil Warnock, big fan of what he does.
We are, we're big fans on this channel, aren't we? We want Warnock on. But...
Yeah, get him on here. But no, when he's in the Championship, it comes to life. He loves that league. And we're a team, it's a project for him with Borough. They've been struggling past year or two. They've not had the level of success that they've been craving for since they got relegated. There were the famous quote about when you lot signed Nick Pope and they got on side Victor Valdez, and look how that turned out.
Giving us a bit of grief, weren't they, about
that? But I think with a manager like Neil Warnock, he will get every last inch of what's needed from his team to push them as far up that table as he can. Again, it didn't necessarily show as much, but he got them away from the relegation zone last year.
Yeah, did the job, didn't he?
Because under Woodgate, they just couldn't click. Again, they've got the quality in the team. I just don't know, for one reason or another, it just didn't turn out to be the way that they'd have wanted to. And again, like I said to you, I'm a big fan of Grant Hall as a defender. Again, got rid of a few older people. Ryan Shotton's gone, Adam Clayton, George Friend, Daniel Ayala, which, I don't think he's a bad player, but I think his wages were ridiculous from when he was in Premier League, and he's not been able to back down from that. But I do think that they'll be on them upper parts, and it wouldn't surprise me if, like I say, they do make a push towards the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that as well. Neil Warnock knows that league like back of his hand. He knows it inside out. But yeah. So then we're into single figures, 9th.
Not Blackburn.
We're getting scarily close to the playoffs, are we?
I've gone for Derby.
Okay.
Now, they were another team, obviously, in the midst of a financial crisis, which has luckily been escaped for them for the 12 points deduction that a lot of people thought that they'd go on and get. But again, I think that if they hadn't lost the 2 wing backs in Max Lowe and Jayden Bogle, I'd have been putting them up towards the playoffs. Yeah. With a player like Rooney, again, not necessarily, got the experience in the Championship, but he's the biggest professional you're going to get in that league.
Got experience everywhere else, hasn't he? So.
I mean, to have a player like Wayne Rooney, he might be, 33, 34, 35 now, but no matter what, even if it's just in the dressing room as to what he brings, he's a player that you'd kill to have at your club.
Everyone in England as well always speaks highly about Rooney. Like I say, he gets on with everyone. So
that's the thing. I mean, obviously, the later in his career, he's been more reverted into a central midfield role.
Yeah.
And like I say, that's where he did play last season for Derby. And again, I'm a big fan of Louis Sibley from them. Max Bird, he's coming through. I think he'll have a good season for Derby this year.
Yeah, they've got a few good youngsters, haven't they, coming through?
They do, yeah. The academy has paid out the last year or two. And they brought in David Marshall from Wigan. Again, might be 35, but another player that knows the Championship in any way that you can do.
Decent keeper.
And again, if they can spend a bit of that money from Max Lowe and Jayden Bogle in the way they like and need to, then I do think that they can be up there. And again, Philip Cocu as a manager, again, I think it's taken a year for him to get used to the intensity of the Championship. Because not only players, it'll take the managers a little bit of time to get used to, what's required. So I think now he's had that year to bed himself in. I do think that this year they could be pushing in again. As with the bottom of the table, with the playoffs, these can be switched around probably in 10 places. So it wouldn't surprise me again if they make their way up to the playoffs. But I've got them in 9th.
Right, and then 8th?
Here they come. Blackburn.
Okay.
We're not making the cut this year.
No.
Again, I think I probably am being a bit over optimistic here. It's again, Blackburn. They've the love and hate of my life. It's been 3 years since we signed a defender on a permanent deal, and that way it goes on. Charlie Mulgrew, who were giving us a little bit of aggression on Twitter the other day because of the loyalty we show towards certain players, which I don't agree with. He's been a player that's been at Rovers for 3 years. He's been through the lows and the highs.
Yeah.
But he's 34-year-old now. He's probably on 15k a week. We need to get rid of some deadwood and make the push that Blackburn fans have been wanting for the past, we've been down there now for 9 years almost. 10 years almost even. So, again, this season, we've got Bradley Dack coming back from his injury. It'll be fun to spot. I say fun. It'll be interesting to see if he's still the same player that he was. Such a significant injury in specifically an attacking midfielder's career, the anterior cruciate ligament. If he can get back on form, you never know. But like I say, if not, I do struggle to see a bit of the creativity. Adam Armstrong, though, shout out to him. What a player he is.
Good player.
Again, we signed him for $1.5 million from Newcastle. Absolutely bitten their hands off there. I don't understand how they didn't give him an opportunity because, like I say, from what I've seen, he's one of the best strikers we've had since we've been in the Championship. Like I say, I put him on par with Rhodes at certain points. Obviously, he's a completely different type of player to Rhodes, but with what he's done for the club in regards to goal scoring for the team, it's magnificent. The one area that I do worry about is left back. Amari Bell is our only senior left back at the moment. You could call Derek Williams, but he's been reverting to a central defensive spot.
Yeah,
I think we need at least 2 left backs there and a defender. I think if we had them in there now, I'd be pushing us towards the playoffs.
Yeah.
As ridiculous as that might sound, I think the team that we've got is young, it's hungry, but also it's got the experience required.
Yeah.
Again, keeper yet to see. Signing from Ghent. It's always one of those that you don't know if it's going to pay off or not.
Yeah, it's a risk. Isn't it?
But again, I do think that we're Rovers. We can be a dark horse. It just depends if we can get out of the way in which that we lose to teams that we shouldn't be losing to, like last year when we lost to Charlton, to Luton. Because on our day we can beat the best of teams. We've shown that in the past. So I think this season, now that the team again has had the chance to bed themselves in and get the year or two of championship under the levels, the players have developed the way that we need them to. Again, it's probably optimistic, but I'm going to be sticking with Blackburn finishing 8th.
I'll be all right with 8th. I can put up with that.
As long as they're not in playoffs.
You're staying in championship, so yeah. No, I can accept that just about. So who's going to be just outside the playoffs then, in 7th spot?
And another team that finished in there last year, just outside, Swansea. Without Brewster, because that second half of the season, Ryan Brewster was sensational for him. Without Brewster, without Conor Gallagher, I think they're just lacking that bit that they need to push them back over. Again, a big fan of what they've done there. Because when they came down from the Premier League, again, it were a team that you worried if they were going to stay down for a long time. But obviously, they didn't have the best of seasons, and then they've kicked back last couple of years. And they have been investing a lot in loan players the last few years. They've done it again this year. They've got Morgan Gibbs-Whiting from Wolves, which again I think that's a very good bit of business.
Great signing that.
I'm surprised that they let him go. Obviously, they're pushing now towards the top half of the Premier League, so they might not necessarily see the chance for him to develop. But I think he were in that under-17 England World Cup winning squad. So to have a player like him in there alongside Freddie Woodman, who were a cracking keeper for him. They've just signed that Mark Guehi again from Chelsea, who took a bit of time for him to develop into the squad last year, but once he did, he were a force in that defence. I do think that Swansea, again, will be there and thereabouts. I think that it could be a toss-up between them and who I've got in 6th for that last playoff spot. But I do think that they will just miss out, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could. I can see that, to be fair, Swansea. I think they're just outside for now. But I think they've got every chance of getting back up in the next few years, maybe.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it'll depend on recruitment more. And Brewster's going to be a big miss, he is.
Yeah.
So we're on to the playoffs now.
We are.
Who's in 6th spot?
In 6th spot, a lot of people might have noticed that there's a big classic championship team that haven't been mentioned yet. And it's Millwall.
Oh, you got Millwall.
Again, a big fan, Gary Rowett. Big fan.
Oh, yeah.
I think another manager that knows the championship all too well.
Yeah, he's been around now, hasn't he? He's had a few jobs, hasn't he, Gary Rowett?
Wherever he's been for me, he's always been shrewd in his signings. And for me, he's proven it again this year. Scott Malone from Derby on loan somehow. Cracking little championship player. Ryan Woods on loan from Stoke. I think he's a very good player. I'd be interested to see how Troy Parrott works out for them up front this season.
He's meant to be
a big,
next big player, isn't he?
Yeah,
Tottenham.
Exactly. When that got pulled off, I was very surprised that he'd been able to go to a team like Millwall. But back end of last season as well, Millwall, they were a very good team.
Yeah.
I do think that they could be the dark horse if they get to the playoffs as well, of the playoffs. I am impressed with that team and what they've been able to do, because again, they're another team that have been yo-yoing back in 10 years ago, Championship, League One Championship, but they have kicked on last year or two, and actually I'm quite confident for Millwall this year.
Yeah, I was impressed with Millwall last season. I watched him a few times and play some good stuff. Yeah, go right. He's gone playing some good football.
Again, they only just
Forest, I think I watched him against. I don't know, I can't remember, but they were brilliant. One game I watched him in.
They only just missed out last year. Again, by a couple of points. So I don't, I think they will carry on. And again, they've done very well in the transfer market so far. So I don't see any reason why they can't make that push.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So fifth place.
Fifth place. I've gone for Bournemouth.
Right.
Again, another team that have come down, but they've lost a lot of players.
Yeah, they
And
have,
it
and they've
only,
been rinsed, haven't they, both?
yeah, and it only seems like it's just going to keep on going at the moment.
Josh King, not
Josh
looking like
King,
he'll stay, does it?
no, David Brooks looks like he might go. Lewis Cook, there were rumours a while back. I don't know if it was fake or not of him going back to Leeds potentially. But again, Bournemouth, a team that again they're going to have to be in transition this year. They had a lot of the old guard in the team in Simon Francis, Charlie Daniels, who were at Sermon. They were still there and they're just gone. So they've lost a real big chunk of that team this season. Obviously, they've gained probably about 80 million so far from transfers. So it'll be interesting to see how they spend that. But again, another manager that's been coming in as an assistant, Dean Tyndall. Obviously, Rose have got them opening day of the season. And as I said the other day, I couldn't think of a better time to play them. They are a team for me that will struggle at the early parts, but as soon as, again, they get that style of play, the team can come knitted together. They might carry on once they've made them signings. But I think if they were to leave it as it currently is, I don't think that they'd be at that playoff spot that obviously they'll be yearning for this season.
Yeah, they'll be open to, but I can't see it either.
No.
We've already spoke about it. Not a fan of this giving assistant manager job. I don't. It don't make sense to me, but
no.
There you are. So in fourth spot.
Fourth spot, again, another team that have just been relegated, and surprisingly not the team that finished bottom. I've gone for Watford.
Okay.
Again, another team that I think they'll be in a little bit of transition this year. Obviously, Dean has stated that he thinks that he's still a Premier League player, so he probably wants to leave. Will Hughes, he looks like he's going to be leaving at a certain point to obviously who we don't know yet. And again, it were another team that were aging. I'd be surprised if players like Capoue don't leave. Obviously, Doucouré has just gone to Everton.
Yeah, that's a big loss.
So it's another team that are being rinsed. You know, I think Craig Dawson, is he there now still? Is he at West Brom?
I think he's at Watford, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's signed him.
No.
We've been linked with him every season.
Yeah.
He never ends up.
Never ends there, no.
Yeah.
But again, another championship savvy player. Wouldn't surprise me if a team come in for him, but if they can keep him, I think that'll be a good bit of business, just keeping hold of him. It wouldn't surprise me if Dave Feller was going to leave. And again, Ismail Assar. Obviously, if they can keep these players, I don't see any reason why they can't be up there in the top two. But I think, again, it's another team that are going to get absolutely rinsed of the players. Obviously, they're going to get some good money for it, but it just depends as to where they spend that. I mean, they brought Glenn Murray in on loan, which that probably speaks more towards Deeney leaving because they're a similar type of player.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But for me, a 36-year-old on loan, is that really what you want to be doing?
Yeah, it's a bit.
It confuses me, that one. I think as well with them, they've got quite, they've got this link with Granada and Udinese or something because of the owners. Technically, on paper, they've got a big squad, but a lot of these players just keep getting shipped out on loan. Obviously, they've got that Jose Pedro, I think he's called, or João Pedro, that they signed from, I think it was Cruzeiro or Flamengo or something. He's supposed to be a big player. I think he's only 19 now, so there's no better league than the Championship to get in that professional football he needs and, ingrained in English football more so for him to kick on. So it could be a good season for him if he does get a place in the team. Obviously, if the likes of De La Feu and so do leave. But again, I just think that they will just be short of that top two spot.
Yeah, it could. It's a lot harder than people think going straight back up, isn't it? It's hard. So yeah, it'd be tough for Watford, sorry, but
yeah,
I'm with you. I think they will get the playoffs. I don't know. They might sneak top two. I'm not sure. I think I'd have put them second, Watford, but I can see why you put them there because it's really hard, isn't it? It's just to bang straight back.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculously hard.
So final playoff spot, third place. Who have you gone with?
Third place. I think it's going to be a bit of deja vu this year. Brentford.
Brentford again, right?
Again, a team that are going to be getting a lot of the players taken away from them. obviously BMW, the classic BMW of Benrahma, Wembo and Watkins. They're going to be broken up. Probably 2 of the 3 are going to be leaving.
Watkins has gone, hasn't he?
Like I say, Watkins has gone to Aston Villa today for 28 million or something stupid.
They've made some money them in the last few
Oh,
years.
yeah, no.
The other day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the way in which their transfer, whoever it is that does that, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he did a good job, doesn't he?
Because, like I say, he's onto it again with David Raya if he leaves. Obviously, there's been reports of him potentially handing in a transfer request to try and push that move to Arsenal. Which, again, that helped Rovers out with the sell-on fee. But obviously, in regards to the player, it'll be a big, big loss for Brentford because he were a big player for them last year.
I think that's a mistake if he goes to Arsenal, though.
So do I.
Just not going to play, is he?
No, not at all. He will do what Martinez has done for the last 6 years. So again, it is a confusing one. The only other thing is that the former Brentford goalkeeping coach is now at Arsenal.
Right.
So obviously he wants to go back in a way to be reunited with him. He might also get a look in because of that with Arteta, Spanish links, all that kind of stuff. But like I say, realistically speaking, it's going to be Leno or Martinez, whoever stays, that's going to be number one. So it'd be a big mistake for him. Obviously, there's been big rumours of Benrahma leaving left, right, and centre. Who it's going to be, you don't know, but I'd still expect him to leave. So obviously they brought in Ivan Toney, who again I think it's a good bit of business, but for the price they paid for him, I'm not too sure if it's value for money. Again, obviously as we've said that Brentford are renowned for being savvy in the transfer market. But I think it's 6 million, is it? Something like that. Yeah, 5.5 million.
Yeah.
I think for a player like that, I don't think that's good value. They've usually found a diamond in the rough, but they've picked obviously the League One top goal scorer. He's been in the Premier League with Newcastle in the past. That didn't work out. Hopefully it works out for him and they get, like I say, another 20 million like they have done for Watkins. But I just don't think that's really what they're usually used to. And I don't know if he will be able to cut it at the level they required, like Watkins and like Benrahma need this season. So it'll be an interesting one to see. But I do think that they'll just miss out again.
Yeah, it'd be tough for Brentford. Like you said, they're losing some big players, aren't they? But seem to always replace them well, and don't they kick on when you think they...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so, yep. Second place.
So, this is probably the one that probably will make the most eyebrow raises.
Yeah, I think I know
again, you've probably noticed that they've not been mentioned yet.
I kept looking up my list thinking, has he said them yet?
The Potters.
Yeah, Stoke. Yeah.
I feel that they've got it in them this year. Michael O'Neill as manager. Again, it took him a bit of time to get to grips with the club itself in the Championship, but I think they've got the quality needed. Again, defensively, they've been able to bring in some good signings. John Obi Mikel, he's made a return. Don't know why he's only 33. The one bit that does confuse me is Stephen Fletcher's coming. That's the only thing that does confuse me. But I think that this year Stoke will be the dark horse of the season. And with the players that they've got, it depends if Jack Butland can return to his former self.
Strange that, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's just absolutely lost it, hasn't he?
Yeah, again, I don't know what's happened to Jack Butland in the past probably 3-4 years now.
Seems to be since he was being linked with Liverpool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know whether that turned his head or something. I don't know, but
no. But the thing with the Stoke squad, obviously, there was that mad stat when the Champions League was on about how many Stoke players have been in previous Champions League semi-finals. But they have got a lot of quality in that squad. I mean, Benik Afobe, when he's on his game, he can play. Again, he's died off recently, but I think that this season he'll probably come out of the shadows. Defensively speaking, they've got James Chester now, Bruno Martins Indi, Joe Allen, again, I think he's a very good level for the Championship. If they don't let Etebo go, Peter Etebo, again, he's quite a good player for the Championship. So on paper, they have got the squad needed for me. It just depends if they can transform that into what's needed. And like I say, I do think that this year they will be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a big call, that.
It is.
Big call.
It is a huge one.
It's a huge
Obviously,
call,
we'll look back in 3 months and I'll be getting laughed at left, right, and centre when they're 22nd in the table.
Yeah, I haven't got the feeling you've got for Stoke. It's going to be another challenging one, I think. So then, first place then.
First place.
Right, Norwich.
The Canaries, indeed. Yeah. Again, it's a weird one. You know, they finished last in the Premier League, so you wouldn't expect them to be their best performers. But for me, it does seem to be that way. They've probably had time to prepare in that squad because they've known the inevitable coming in the Premier League. And again, they underachieved a lot for me last year. They had a lot of very good players.
Well, at times they played some really good football, didn't they?
That's it. I think they were over ambitious. They didn't respect what they needed to respect as much in regards to the Premier League.
They didn't change the style either, did they? They stuck with it, and it were when it's not working, like you've got to change it up, and he stuck to his beliefs, didn't he? Thought,
like I said, fair news to him for that, but it was naive. Didn't too naive. No.
They didn't spend enough, I don't think, either for the Premier League.
No, no.
Some clubs can't, you know. You want to, if they do get like James was saying, weren't he? Yesterday, I think, on another podcast. Some clubs are worried if they do get relegated. Then
what it's going to do to them?
They're in, they're in trouble. So it's a tough one, but yeah, Norwich could well do, yeah. Yeah,
I mean, for me, they've got outstanding players in not every position, but every aspect of the three sectors of defence, midfield, and attack.
Yeah.
Ben Godfrey, for me, sensational defender. Still only 22, 23, I think. If they can somehow keep hold of Max Aarons, unbelievable right back. Again, Todd Cantwell, James, not the biggest fan in regards to his personality, but as a player, I think he's top tier for the Championship level.
Good player, yeah, I like Cantwell. Good player. On his day, very good.
Yeah, Emi Buendia as well. I mean, I don't know how he's not gone yet. I think he was linked with Atletico Madrid at one point.
Right.
So I can only expect he's going to leave at some point, but obviously with the season starting, they're at least going to get something out of him this year.
Yeah, if they can keep hold of him, that would be that'd be like a new signing, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
Having a new signing.
And then obviously Timu Puka.
Can he get his form back? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they brought in Jordan Hugill from West Ham for $2 million or something, which it's all, they're getting a bit of backup for him, but I hope that they give Pookie the chance again because, like you say, when he was in the Championship a couple of years ago, he were unplayable. He were unreal. Obviously, it didn't work for him as much at the beginning of the year. He were on fire in the Premier League, but
he started brilliantly, didn't he? And then he just dropped off completely.
Exactly. So hopefully, he can find that form back that he also craves. But like I say, I think that team is just going to be unbelievable. We've suggested in the past that, like you say, this Championship season, not really star-studded with teams that you want to expect to be in this league. It is probably one of the, not worst, but most underperforming Championship seasons there could be. But I think out of all that 24, I think Norwich, the team that they've got, and the team that Daniel Farke's built, it's a class above most.
Yeah, they've been there and done it a few times as well, haven't they, Norwich as a club, so they'll be used to it, the people who work in the background and that.
That's it.
So we're at the end of it, and we got through it, Marcus, all right, didn't we, there?
We did. Again, a few eyebrows raised with that one.
There will be a few, there's a few. The big ones for me were Forest and Stoke.
Forest and Stoke.
Stoke's in a different league, though. That's a massive one.
Again, that I've gone out on a limb there.
You have gone out on a limb, you could be right. Stoke fans will like you anyway for it.
I'm going to say, we'll get some fans, but some others, Barnsley fans, maybe not so much.
Yeah. So cheers for doing that, Marcus.
No, not a problem.
Going on do predictions.
Enjoy it.
As well, we're going to do Premier League predictions as well. They'll be out. I don't know when, Friday probably. But these Championship and League One should be out tomorrow, so Thursday. We'll hopefully get them out, and then try and do Premier League as well before the weekend. Because thank God football's going to be back, isn't it?
That's it. And obviously today's been announced they're all on TV, so they're
on TV. Yeah. So
it's back to the 4 games a day. Every day for
even though it's only been a short break, I have missed it, and I can't wait until we get fans back in. Hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later, but we'll have to wait and see,
definitely.
won't we?
Yeah, that's the one.
We'll wait and see. So yeah, thanks for joining us. If you watch on YouTube or listen on Spotify, thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.